What is going on, my friends? This is Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. It is time. It is that time of the morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time, every single day, every day. Well, hold on a second. 5 days a week. Five days a week. Not every day, but for God's sakes, it's damn near every day. All right, we got a returning guest here. This is a real cool guy. He is an ex-Hollywood director. He's turned to online marketing to really build up a business that he loves, a business that he's able to travel the world and do, just like many of us here. Why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this so we can do what we want to do. I'm as many of you guys know who follow the show every day. I'm home for the month, working out of the garage because I've got a new baby son. And that's exactly what I want to be doing right now. Okay, I want to be here with you, and I want to be just a stone's throw away from my son, who's right now resting fast asleep on the couch. Okay, and what we're going to talk about today, as I bring Marcin here in just a moment, is it's a little bit more of a high level conversation. What do you do once you become successful? How do you actually build and create wealth? Okay, versus go out and rush to buy maybe that Lamborghini you've always dreamed of driving in. Okay, so with that being said, I want to bring in all the way from, I don't know actually where he is, LA maybe. Marcin, my brother, can you hear me?
Hey, Dave, what's going on?
Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Did I guess right? Are you in California?
I am in California, but officially made the move to San Diego 2 weeks ago. So I'm officially a San Diegoian, whatever it's called.
All right. Well, it's a beautiful part of the country. It's similar to what we have here in Florida, except some minor changes. But what's important, my brother, is that we could be having this conversation from anywhere in the world, and that's what I love about this sport, and that's what I know you love about it too. Give people a brief history, just in a quick nutshell, because if you guys want to learn more about Marcin, we did do an interview with him on the show back a couple of months ago, maybe 6 months ago, something like that. So it's great to see you again, bro. And I hope you've had the best of year that you could have had. I know for us online marketers, sometimes I feel a little guilty because the rest of the world is sort of going through the ebbs and flows of I guess Main Street, what you would call the kind of normal world, where us online marketers in a sense can be detached from what's going on, because we're not particularly dependent upon brick and mortar stuff. You're an ex-Hollywood director, right? So you that industry, I would assume, even though it would be known as the rich and famous and so forth, there's a lot of people who work in that industry who are not particularly rich and famous and who are probably struggling through this year. So talk to us a little bit about, and I'll say one more thing. I bet you're glad that you do this now, versus still do that. And I don't know if you still have your hand in it or not, but tell us how you got to online marketing in the first place, it just in a nutshell, so people can understand kind of who you are.
Sure. Again, thanks for having me back. It's been a fun ride, and congratulations. I was hoping you had the little guy right here in your
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, my name is Marcin Teodoru, and I'm online marketer. I'm a former Hollywood director. From the time I kind of entered the professional world, from I was 16, actually I started very young. I was still in high school. I kind of figured out a way, and I kind of got a job at an early age. School wasn't really my thing. I just really enjoyed doing things outside of school. That included sports and obviously working. So I started working, and then I got into Hollywood. First, I started doing post-production stuff, and then it turned into me launching a company, growing it, building it. And on my 30th birthday, where I was at, I would say, my career pinnacle, you could call it, I got to make some movies. I got to direct some really fun stuff, work with A-list actors, producers. I was kind of burnt out, and it kind of just took a toll. Probably my own doing. I was kind of just hungry, and I wanted to just achieve it as fast as possible. So I probably burned myself to the ground a little bit. But it was an amazing experience. And then media after that kind of became a big part of my life. So kind of exiting Hollywood, I was like, okay, where do I take this skill of filmmaking, which everybody needed at the time. So I kind of started doing a little more corporate work, which then led to more commercial work. And then it kind of led me online. So I got to do a few projects online. And then I started tinkering in the online space and realized, wait, I'm making videos for people selling products. Why don't I just make the products? And then started on Amazon. I built up an Amazon business and then diversified into, tried a little drop shipping and then more e-commerce and affiliate marketing. So I've been going pretty heavy now, affiliate marketing for going on 4 years now. And e-commerce, I have an e-com brand and then multiple six-figure like affiliate brands that I'm either associated with or I directly am partners in. So that's kind of where we're at today.
And you got your legendary.
I know, man. I got the new office getting set up, so I got a little bit of my history right here. I got my cameras. I got a bunch of vintage cameras. I have like a collection.
Oh yeah.
Nice, there you go. There's my Raider support, and there's some basketball stuff. Got a Pink Floyd, and so that's where we're at, you know. But yeah, man, right there on the board. So I can actually check that off my list. If you guys saw the last episode, I don't have my book right here. It's in the back. Well, actually, I do have it. And one of the things I wrote on here, actually, screw it. Let's just do this really quick, if you don't mind. So one of the things I put on here, it says, now, if you remember, number 7, get a big ass trophy.
Love it, bro.
So we can check that one off the list, actually. Nice. Yeah, so that's been it. Made the move to San Diego. Been a long time coming. Been in LA for 20 plus years, and then traveled all over. This previous like 4 years, me and my girl been kind of doing the digital nomad life. Traveling all over, living in Europe, loving Mexico, and then obviously COVID kind of changed everything for everybody. So we ended up moving out of LA actually and living in Palm Springs. So this whole year I've actually been in Palm Springs. Just decided to kind of get out of the city, kind of reset, and then after our lease expired, I just said, hey, listen, let's just go to the one place that we know we love the most, that we always go back to on vacation, and San Diego was that place. So we just made the move 2 weeks ago, and pretty stoked to be here. So if there's any San Diego guys or ladies out here, let me know, and we'll get together for coffee.
Yeah, or I mean, everybody now, and that would be wonderful to get together for coffee. The rest of us will sit around and have Zoom coffee like we have pretty much every morning. I have Zoom coffee with pretty much all of you guys worldwide. But listen, let's thank you for that, and it's an incredible backstory and an awesome journey that you've been on, and I think something that everybody can aspire to live and do, much of which has been financed by your online marketing ventures. Certainly, being a director is no slouch, but now that you've sort of transitioned into online marketing full time and are using those skills here, you're able to finance this beautiful life that you have, traveling all over, living where you want, and it's very inspiring. A lot of marketers, when they start to make money, and I'd like to talk to, in Marcin particularly, it was his idea, not mine, but I'd like you to talk today to people who, there's the majority of people who are listening have probably not reached that place to where they're like, I have excess money. It takes a while to get there. The majority of people don't. Okay, I like to be very upfront. I'm not here to BS people and say, just imagine if you get 3 who get 3 who get 3, we can all be rich. Like that. If you want that, I can refer you to some people that I don't really associate with who can get you into one of those sort of deals, and you can hear that sort of pie in the sky pitch. Real hardcore entrepreneurship is something that you got to work hard for. Not everybody achieves it. Most people buy things, buy gym memberships, buy how-to courses, and don't do anything with them. That's just the truth. If you guys don't want the truth, probably shouldn't tune into this show every morning. But if you do want to work for it, and you want to learn the skills, I mean, that's really all it is just skills. If you were to walk on any construction job brand new, you'd be the guy who was wet behind the ears and you didn't know your ass from a hole in the ground. It doesn't matter where you go. It's the same concept. So here you got to learn the skills. But then all of a sudden something interesting happens. You start to kind of pick up some momentum. You start to kind of develop these pieces of digital real estate. And all of a sudden the money starts flowing. And it may be quicker for others than quicker for some than others. But eventually, if you work hard, you stick with it, you develop the skills, the money starts to flow. And it can flow in abundance. It can flow more than what you expected it to flow. Because you're now, instead of with your own lemonade stand on the side of your corner in your community selling to a small portion of people, you're marketing to people all over the world. You got a huge crowd, and there's a lot of opportunity there. You start marketing the right products, higher ticket products, bigger margins. You start making more sales, generating more traffic, generating more income streams. Now all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're going, well, I've got some damn excess cash here. And you've got a choice at that time, right, Marcin, which is you can either go out and buy the car you've always wanted, or go start buying dumb stuff, jewelry, watches, throwing money away, or you can begin to make some smart investments, which can have you within a few short years sitting pretty. So talk to us about your journey with what I'm talking about here. It was certainly your idea for the topic. And why some of these folks here who are starting to make some decent money should be thinking in this way that we're talking about. And also, for those who are not there yet, can begin to see the smart moves that they can make, and also the moves to avoid once they do start making money.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, I can maybe pick up a little bit and just tell you a little bit of, I guess, my story of what not to do. That might be a good way.
I love that, because it's we've all done dumb stuff and blown dumb money, and I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, and then I'll tell you how I fixed it, and then how I do it now. So it actually goes back to a little bit right in that transition time of leaving the film business, having really, really amazing clients. I actually was Hitachi's film producer. So I did all of the videos for G-Tech, if you guys are familiar with the hard drive company. So I did all of their commercials. So it obviously paid very well. I mean, one commercial would pay anywhere from 10 to 20 grand, right? So you work for a weekend, you make 20 grand. It was like, holy smokes, right? So obviously being a mid-20s, or late 20s kid at that time, just enjoying it, never really learning about finance or any of that stuff. What did I do? I ended up going and buying cars, and was like, I'm going to get in the car reselling business. So then I went on to buy a bunch of cars, and I had 6 at the time, right? And they were all classics, Mustangs, and all kinds of stuff. And it was all going very, very well. And then guess what happens in 2009? The market crashes. And guess what happens to the value of classic cars? It goes pretty much down 50, 60%. So all my investment, all that money, all that hard-earned cash that I worked on so hard, it all came crumbling down, and I lost, and I had to basically sell everything, pennies on the dollar, as they say. So it was a big loss. But the big lesson from that is I chose one thing. I chose classic cars, and then I took all my money and I put it all into classic cars. I didn't put it into the stock market more. I didn't put it into other business ventures. I didn't put it into my education. And half of it got cut. So literally from 1 month to the next, half of my money, my worth disappeared. So then I was like, wow, okay, that's a big lesson, right? So then the next one was like, okay, well, let's take the rest of this money and actually do something better with it. So why don't we invest it? So then put it into the stock market, and I became, I was like, I'm going to learn how to trade stocks. Probably, again, not the smartest decision to make. And I ended up losing like $30,000. Just, you get in, 30 trades in, you make some dumb choices, and now you're out another 30 grand. So now reality's starting to sit in where I'm like, wait, I had this career, I saved up a nice amount of money, and now all of a sudden things are disappearing. So come 2011, 2012, I'm like down to my savings, and I'm like, holy smokes, like I really got to figure this out. So that kind of obviously led me, it was like the helping hand of like, okay, you need to find a new career instead of just mess around. So then they kind of got into the online space, and then I said, okay, now I have to do this differently. So that was my kind of third strike, and I'm lucky to say that it worked. So the first thing I did actually for you guys who are just starting out, or maybe you're just getting over that hump where you're making whatever that goal might be for you. You know, I always say like, what's your monthly net, right? It's a finance term, which just means like, how much do you spend per month? Like, how much money do you need to survive, right? Your bare minimums, your rent, your car insurance, your car payment, your groceries. And you start kind of breaking that all down, and I always write them out. As soon as I started doing this, I still do this today, actually. I guess it's just having a little budget, but knowing that number, and let's say that number is for the average, you know, somebody in their mid 20s or 30s, let's say it's $4,000. So then you start thinking, okay, what do I need to do in order to just make that first $4,000? I know everybody has concepts of grandeur, and I want to make $1 million, right? Like that's like the going thing, especially when you get into this online space, affiliate marketing. You're seeing these guys, you know, flexing their huge, you know, earnings, and also their Lambos and all that stuff. But don't get distracted by any of that. Just focus on that core number. So let's just use as an example, $4,000, which was what mine was around at the time. It was like $2 grand for rent, you know, $600-700 for like insurance, car, and the rest was basically food and the essentials. So then what I did is I broke it down into 4 projects. And I said, all I got to do to survive is get 4 people paying me $1,000, right? So this could be 4 affiliate offers paying you $1,000. This could be, you know, and you kind of start looking at it, breaking it down, I guess diversifying. This is early stage when you're really kind of just starting out. But what ends up happening is if you kind of pick those core things, one of them ends up doing well. And that one will typically cover the 4 grand. Let's use affiliate market. Let's use Legendary as an example, right? I basically was like, hey, I would love to make $1,000 a month with Legendary when I start out. That was the goal, right? Started making some TikTok videos, and then made that first $1,000. It took like 2 weeks. I was like, oh wow. So now anything above that is cake, right? So now I was like, okay, what's the other thing that I can do to now fill that different part? And you start basically inching up all of these different things you're doing and growing, I guess, your worth, you know, your money. And then one program will start making more money. And that's when you can kind of focus in. So diversifying and testing a bunch of different things. And then once you find that one thing, really starting to focus on that. Don't forget about the other stuff, because that one thing can go away. You know, like when I had my Amazon business, it was doing really well. I got it up to 25-30 grand a month. And then I got scared because I thought they were going to suspend my account. I wasn't doing anything illegal, but at the time, Amazon was just suspending accounts like crazy, kind of like Facebook is doing right now. So yeah, I would say that's the biggest thing, is like just break it down to the smallest point that's achievable. And then anything above that, you get to celebrate. When you hit that $10,000 goal, $20,000 goal, you're now kind of living in this reality, like, right? And then all that extra stuff is additional. And go treat yourself, obviously, when you hit those goals. Don't probably buy a Lambo if you're making $20,000 a month, but, you know, definitely, I guess, reap the rewards, you know, for the hard work.
One of the things that I've learned this year is that I don't need what I think I need.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need I don't need as many vacations as I'd like to take. I don't need to fly. I actually, this entire year, in a sense, now this is attaching an empowering meaning to an event. We always attach a meaning to an event, and many times we attach disempowering meanings to events. But this year, so COVID in 2020 has been a great example of quote unquote the year from hell. For me, though, it's actually been one of the biggest years of growth that I've ever had. And the reason why is because I've invested more time with my family. So instead of traveling, instead of being all over the country or whatever, like I go and I'm a part of different mastermind groups and recovery groups and different things, and I'm gone just in one group 3 times a year. I've not done any of that this year. So I've spent more time at home. I've bonded deeper with my family. I've saved a ton more money.
Yeah.
By saving that money, I've built up my real estate portfolio bigger than it was, and built up my my stock and investment portfolio bigger than I ever would have imagined at the beginning. 1 year ago, we met. Basically, a gentleman referred actually by my mom. He'd been managing my mom's and stepdad's portfolio, and we met with him. And then this year, real estate was high, surprisingly, here in Florida. So we weren't investing there, and so we invested in the stock market and just diversified there. We've got some insurance policies, so forth. But my point is that this month, this year, has reminded me, it's sort of been like the early stages of entrepreneurship, that I can hunker down and I can survive and I can be happy with a much more what do they call it? Minimalistic lifestyle, which has enabled me to save more. Now, how does that apply to everybody? Well, exactly the same way. It doesn't matter how much you're making. When you start making money, I think the biggest mistake that I see people doing is running out and just blowing it. There's no secret. They just go blow it. And instead of hunkering down and saving and investing and actually being disciplined. I mean, that's where that word disciplined investor comes from, is because when you have excess money, what's the number one thing that you want to do? Burn a hole in your pocket, blow it, buy the car you want, buy the new house, et cetera, et cetera. And I've said this to people for a couple of years now. I think that every person, no matter who you are, should strive to buy one investment property per year. Nice. And put because you can do that with 20% down typically. So you don't need you can buy $100 piece of real estate with 20,000. You can buy a $50,000 piece of real estate with 10,000. And then what you can do is, when that has equity, you can refinance that, and then you can say you have a $100,000 piece of property, you can refinance that. And then go and use that money from that property that somebody else has been paying the rent for and buy another property. So now all of a sudden your money's multiplying itself, right? And you can buy and you can do the same thing. So now all of a sudden, a couple of years later, you've got houses that are building equity because other people are paying the rent on them. Plus you have money that you're saving that you're buying houses with. So now you go from buying 1 to buying 2 per year. And then that multiplies. 3 years, 4 years later, you have multiple houses that are pumping equity. You need 20% down to buy another house. So you're that's what is called leveraging money. You start out with 1. You strive to buy 1 per year, right? And then 5, 6 years later, you've got an internet business that's pumping out revenue like you just explained. And you're also taking those proceeds, those net profits, and instead of going and buying bullshit, basically, watches, necklaces, boats. My wife has saved me 1 million times from blowing money, dude. I went on a fishing trip one time down to Key West, got hooked, went out on a fishing trip, caught a huge fish, came back. What I want to do? I didn't want to just go fishing. I wanted to buy a boat, right? So my wife said, look, why don't you join a boat club where you can borrow the boat once a week, how many ever times for a year? I fought her on it because I think I'm the smart. Yeah, I think I know, everything that there is to know. And I joined a boat club. Marcin, let me tell you something. It was the smartest decision I ever made. But she saved me from that over and over again. So I'd like to know from you and your relationship. You mentioned your girlfriend or your fiance. I happen to have a very conservative, financially conservative wife who has saved me many times. Now, I've wished many times back in my earlier days, oh, I wish she was more of an entrepreneur. I wish she was more like me. Well, that was when I was really young and dumb. As I've matured, I realized that having that yin and yang has saved my ass and creates a great balance for my marriage. How do you, in your relationship, are you the more conservative one? Are you the one who's more of a spender, etc.? What does the dynamic look like in your partnership, and how do you guys make financial decisions?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm definitely the risk taker. I love risk. There's just something about it. I love a good gamble. I love Vegas. I love investing, day trading. And with her, it's literally the exact opposite. Like whenever we go to the casino, she's like, let's dance. I'm like, at the table? Can we dance at the table? Right? That's kind of our dynamic when it comes to that. But I will say this though, through the years and years of just being one-sided like that for me when I was a lot younger, like I mentioned, I blew 30 grand. I mean, it was the best $30,000 I ever lost in the stock market because it obviously taught me. So now I feel like I'm very well balanced where I see the smart opportunities that might be risky to some people, but to me, I just see them as a kind of, low risk, a high risk, but extremely high return investments. So taking, let's say, the pool of money, being a speculative investor, if you got $10,000 as an example, you're like, I'm going to spend $10,000 today, I'm going to invest, and you just buy Bitcoin. That's the problem. And I think a lot of people do that. So going back to us, I can just give you an example. When Tesla crashed before this huge move, I don't want to get into the actual financials of my girl's stuff, but she had a Roth from like years of work in corporate. And I said, hey, let's roll over your Roth and buy Tesla. I would have sold that Tesla stock. I did sell it, but before it even split. She's still holding on to it, right? She's up like 1,200%. That's the difference, right? And again, it's a different strategy, but it's amazing because seeing how somebody can just buy something like that and then just kick back and never think about it. There's something to say to that, right? And I think for me, I think it's a nice mixture of both. So keeping an eye on that and obviously being conscious of it and aware of it, but then being able to make the moves. Because I know she's not following the markets. So if something does pop off, I'm like, baby, boom, pick up some of this. I think there's a good opportunity here, and kind of having a pulse on the market. So our dynamic kind of works like that. But a lot of times she'll just look at me like, no, I'm not buying this cancer research drug that's going to come to fruition in 17 years.
Well, let me tell you my Bitcoin story, because I know myself now, but here's what's more important. My wife knows me better than I know myself. So for any of you guys, look, Bitcoin, there's lots of different, the last thing I want to do is give any investment advice, because for me, investment advice and gambling is, I don't do well with that. Like I suck as a gambler. Like I know myself. I went on a cruise one time and I sat at the table. It was when I was like starting to make some decent money, and I sat at a table with a bunch of high rollers. I just bought a Rolex. I kind of was like, had my watch out there, like trying to feel adequate around this table. I was on a cruise, so I bought a watch down in St. Thomas. And Which, by the way, if you're gonna buy like some jewelry, that was where I bought my first watch down in St. Thomas, because you can get some savings on jewelry. That's why jewelry sales are so popular down in the islands, is because you can there's some, I don't know what it is. Oh, there's no tax or something, and then you're supposed to claim it when you come back in, and some people do, some people don't. But anyways, that's a whole nother discussion. Probably another troublesome topic I'll stay out of. But anyways. So I was sitting around on this cruise like I thought I was a high roller playing like blackjack or something, losing my ass. And my wife's like, honey, let's go to bed. And I'm like, I got this. I'm going to come back or whatever. I stumble in. I'm sober. I don't drink, but I stumble in with a blanket of shame at, 3:00 in the morning, $5,000 down or some shit. And that was like the kind of, just the last reminder that, Dave, stop gambling. You're just so Bitcoin. What happened with Bitcoin with me was back in 2017. I bought Bitcoin at about 10,000, and then it rose up to about 19,000, and I actually sold. But what happened during that time? So I made $20,000 or something on Bitcoin. But here's the stress, Marcin. The stress, because I'm an obsessive compulsive addict. That's why I don't drink or drug. Right. So just so everybody's clear, I'm in recovery for that, because I'm an obsessive compulsive addict. I know who I am. Dude, I was checking Bitcoin every 5 minutes for like 3 months. And I was like, this has been the most stressful money I've ever made. So 3 years later, this is about a month ago, Bitcoin's on the rise, and I go to my wife and I say, hey, honey, I think, because my secret is I give, in terms of stock market, I don't manage it. I don't buy my own stocks. I'd rather have a professional manage it. But so I came to my wife and I said, hey, I wonder what you would think about just me, me having a little, thing that I'm managing. I want to buy some Bitcoin. And I had a number and I threw it out there, and my wife is like, let me think about that. She's smart. She doesn't tell me no, because she knows if she tells me no, I'm gonna fight her on it. But what she did by giving me that pause, right? Because here I am gun ho, I'm ready to buy. I get an idea and I'm like, I'll buy it right now. She gives me that pause. I think about it and I remember how I was with that Bitcoin, and how obsessive I got, and how stressful it was, and how distracting it was. And I said to myself, okay, look, it's not worth it for me. If I'm going to make an investment, let me give it to the people who I know are pros, who I know have a proven track record. I'll give them percentage of the profits, and let me keep focused on the cash flow activities. Yeah. And that, I think there's a big lesson in that, Marcin, because when we start making a little bit of money, now all of a sudden we want to get into other businesses, and we want to now do all kinds of other shit. And what happens is we succeed in one area, and it creates a false sense of success that we can succeed with everything. So just because I've had some success with internet marketing means that now all of a sudden I can be a successful investor. Now all of a sudden I can be a successful poker player, whatever. And it creates a false sense of success. And I've had some hard lessons, not particularly that I've lost tons of money doing anything, but that it's been stressful. Right. Or it hasn't been as profitable as I thought it would be, because I'm just not good at that. I'm good at what I'm good at. And it's been smarter for me personally to then take my money and try to have people manage it or do something with it who are good at it. For example, our real estate investments, my wife manages that. Why? She's better at it than I am. Mm-hmm. She's more detail oriented. She's better with administrative stuff. That's my Bitcoin story, and it's about learning sort of how I interact with different things, and some things like really stress me out, and I realize that they're not worth it. Are you struggling? Do you a lot of times? Let me ask it like this: a lot of times we talk to people who are newer as if they're the only people who struggle with shiny object syndrome. But people who are successful, I struggle. How does that show up in your life today?
Oh man, it's definitely a big thing. I mean, there's just so many opportunities on all fronts. And I think you touched on something very important that I want to just touch on really quick. As you said, like knowing yourself, but still testing, because you did it, right? Like, you know yourself, compulsive, you go kind of crazy. I do a similar thing. And the big thing that I learned for myself was detaching the emotion. That was the number one thing, especially when it comes to
very hard, easier said than done.
It's almost impossible. I still struggle with it every day, but I learned. And actually, quick story. So Vegas, I'm with a friend who's a complete crazy gambler, right? I don't gamble anymore because I just don't find any joy in it. I love betting on a sports game, but sitting in a casino right now, it's crazy to me. Like, I don't even understand how I spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours in casinos before, because I know it's not going to make me rich. And to make an extra $1,000 or $5,000, like, is it going to move the needle in any way? So that was the realization. But here's when it happened. I was with my friend. We were in a casino, and he was playing dice, and he was a high roller. He was actually from Jordan, like royalty, very wealthy guy, right? And I was super young, and he's there rolling, and he's rolling, and he's rolling. He turned $20 into like 30 grand in a matter of minutes. And he just got on a hot roll, right? But he just kept going, and everybody's sitting there watching, and I'm standing there going like, Rakan, let's take this money. What are you doing? He's just rolling, and he lost it. And he goes, and I'm like, dude, you just lost a year's worth of salary for some people. And he walks away and he goes, man, that was awesome. And I was like, what? Dude, you're sick. You're demented. He goes, dude, I find so much more joy in losing than winning. And it honestly was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because it was such an eye-opening thing, knowing, one, that I'm not like that, right? And the lesson he was trying to teach me was detach yourself from the money. Don't get caught up in the number. I was watching the number rise from 20 to 3,000. I was attached to the money. For him, it was a game because the money had no value. So that was a big lesson. So I think to detach yourself as much as possible when it comes to gambling or the stock market or whatever you do that you are constantly obsessing about, is detach yourself from the value of it. So treat it more as a game, because then it's also more fun. Like when I'm in the stock market now, I think of it as like clay chips. So then the emotion's not there. So then I can actually make rational decisions and just look at it for, okay, I need to figure out if this stock is worth it. And then I kind of just approach it that way. So I don't even worry about kind of checking in on it, because I've done the research. I feel like when I make a decision to buy something, I feel like I've done the research, I've gone through it, I've looked at everything that I needed to look at. So when I'm buying it, I feel very confident, hey, it's working. And then I also have an exit plan. I never buy anything without having an exit plan. And I think that's a big lesson too for people. Like if you buy Bitcoin, for example, you buy it at 10,000, you know, most people would just held on to it. It went to 20, then it went back to 3, now it's back to 20, you know, versus kind of having an exit plan. And I think that works the same with your business, you know, being able to invest the money into the right things and then just focusing in on that, you know, just focusing on the research, focusing on the hard work. It all kind of works the same, you know, with your business.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think what I take from that story is was my takeaway from what you just said, was that dude's got money to lose. like most people don't have money to lose like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so, you know, it's easy for a guy like that to detach from the outcome, because 30,000 to him ain't jack shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, you know, I grew up in you know, a middle-class family, but as I've grown, you know, I started out with nothing, like many of us, and you know, I didn't have that kind of money to lose, you know what I mean? And my first investments were in my education, the first time I ever started spending money or make any real money was in this industry, was buying courses, buying coaching, buying various things that were buying tools, and to this day, for me, and I want to just, this is me, and my strategy is different than Marcin's strategy, which should be different than everybody else's strategy in terms of knowing yourself and knowing what's smart for you, how you should spend your money and where you should put your focus. For me, like, I don't make any decisions in terms of anything that I'm not 100% like confident in. And the only thing that I'm 100% confident in is online marketing. Yeah. That's it. So like, I don't make real estate buying decisions. Like, I leave that up to my wife. I don't make stock market buying decisions. I leave that up to the pro that I pay a fee each year to manage that for me. And that fee, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to pay fees. And it's like, but you pay somebody for their knowledge. For me, the only thing that I make decisions about, it allows me to not have any distractions, like that Bitcoin distraction a month ago for me. And I'm not saying people shouldn't buy it. I'm just saying that for me, I'd rather give that investment decision over to the pro that I pay to make that decision. And then I put all my focus every single day into online marketing, into my business. And that level of, so that's how I'm a disciplined investor. Yeah. Like, that's how disciplined investing shows up in my life. Whereas for you, it may show up slightly different. But I think the most important takeaway for everybody is to get to know yourself, is to be honest with yourself. It's to be honest with yourself. When you have excess cash, first and foremost, the first rule is don't buy dumb shit, invest it. The second question that you need to ask is, are you qualified to make the investment decision? And if you're not, don't fool yourself just because you had a little success over here in online marketing. Now, all of a sudden you think that because your first experience, Marcin, remember, you lost that 30 grand in the stock market, right? Now you're more seasoned, you know more, you're more knowledgeable. But for those of you who, when you get into a little bit of success and you got get a little bit of excess money, don't fool yourself into thinking just because you had some success over here, and now all of a sudden you're ready for success. Put that money in with a professional that can get that. And you know what, quite frankly, as working with this financial manager that I work with, I'm learning from him. Right. I'm learning about decisions, and that's one of the, we always are so quick to want to try to do it on our own. Now, I'm going to save the money and I'm going to do it on my own. And you know what? 9 out of 10 times for me, that ends up in a loss. And I think people approach online marketing the same way. Well, I'm just going to screw around on YouTube. I'll learn it on my own. And it's like, are you really? Are you being honest with yourself? Like, or would you like to come into a community in a platform like this to where we can show you what's proven to work? Right. And you can learn along the way. And maybe you can even turn around and monetize your investment by then teaching marketing down the road via a course or a coaching program. It's really like learning who you are. And if you're at the beginning stages of making money, do not fool yourself into thinking that you're an investment expert. Surround yourself. And that's why, Marcin, I think they say your network is your net worth. Yeah. Because, man, if you don't have good, solid people in your corner who are experts in that field, and you're you're fooling yourself into thinking, well, I had a little success this month with Facebook ads and affiliate marketing. Time to get into the stock market, right? Or whatever. Time to get into Bitcoin. It's like, it's the fastest way to go broke, bro. And I think that that level of self-awareness, really knowing self, man, knowing self, getting to know who you are, being honest. Like, I know today I can't drink because the first one just tastes like another, and it tastes like another. And then, you know what? I tried to smoke pot a little while back, and I was like, I'm just gonna blaze occasionally, right? You know what I wanted to do? I blazed one, and then the next morning, what did I wanted to blaze in the morning. And
Yeah.
I did. I blazed in the morning, and then I sat at my computer screen. I couldn't even see it. I was like, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. And I was like, okay, I need to remain sober. You know, I need to remain on that path. You know, so it's about getting to know ourselves and you know, in sort of in getting as many smart people in our corner and really thinking through our decisions and the advice and being damn careful who we take advice from, you know, damn careful. And I think that's one of the big problems with the internet these days is everybody has an opinion. And you see it every day online with, you know, medical information revolving COVID and, you know, information revolving politics. I mean, we don't trust the media sources, right? But we trust Aunt Becky, who lives in a trailer down the road, and she posted a meme about vaccines or whatever. It's insanity. So we got to be real careful, because the problem that we're dealing with nowadays is not a lack of information. It's an overload of information. And quite frankly, it's misinformation. But your experience, your journey, your story is interesting. It's inspiring. And I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us today. Any final thought for folks who are beginning to sort of gain some traction here and may feel like getting, you know, they may have that distraction bug. They may now all of a sudden be taking advantage of every opportunity that comes up. What would you say to some of these people if you could go back to your early self and give yourself one piece of solid advice?
Yeah, I would say I would actually love to touch a little bit on that kind of shiny object, though. We talked a lot about, I think, like where you and I spend 5% of our time, right? Today, we talked about the investment, the Bitcoin, the gambling, the addictions. Like, so just to be clear, guys, like that's 5%. The remaining 95% is used in our business.
Yeah.
It's building our brand. It's doing the affiliate marketing. It's promoting the products you're promoting. So if you guys are promoting Legendary, that's your 95%. That's where you need to be focused every single day. The remaining 5% is where you get to play, right? That's what we're kind of talking about today a little bit, right? What are we doing with that excess? Like that cream off the top, are we putting it in Bitcoin, or are we buying a car or a boat as Dave wants to? You know, so I think the big thing is the remaining 95% of the time, it really is about focusing in on you. And maybe you already found that thing, or maybe you're still looking for it. But once you do find it, that's where you need to go in, dive in deep, spend those late nights and early mornings and really focus in, because that's going to be the one core thing that's going to allow you to do all that other stuff. So if you make $5,000, don't invest $5,000 in Bitcoin, invest $5,000 into yourself, put that money back into your business, learn that next thing, sign up to the gym so you can get fit and be, you know, and really kind of looking at it that way, and then not being distracted, because this shiny object is tough. I try to basically, so just to real quick, because I never answered your question, Dave, is shiny object for me is I get one test product a month. Just one time. I see some product, I'm like, I'm going to sell that. So I get one a month. That's what I've limited myself to, where I could just basically spend 24 hours and just binge on it and just see if I can make it work. But here's the fun part, is I've made some of those work and it's made good money. So that's my kind of solution to shiny object syndrome.
I like that.
Again, I learned for myself, because what I do before, I had a successful business, shiny object hit, I next thing dove in here, this business dies down, and then you're still, now you're looking for the next thing, and now you're lost again. So for you guys out there, if you're promoting Legendary, focus on Legendary. You're gonna get the results if you put in the time. And then once you do, then start looking at other things, right? Checking off those boxes. I got to make 5 grand. And then, hey, now I can actually look at other stuff. So, you know, I think that's a big thing, and really focusing in on your knowledge and then actually just putting in the hard work. So in the end, it just comes down to that, is get on a computer, make that TikTok video, you know, and get out there, you know, and actually start, you know, hustling and doing, you know, setting, I guess, achieving your goals, whatever those goals might be for you.
Brilliant, brilliant point, and way to clarify and put a bow on this conversation with the 95-5 thing. You know, I couldn't have said that better. I couldn't have clarified that better. I couldn't have simplified this conversation better. So, yeah, go all in on that 95. That 95, I think sometimes that 95, it becomes 100. It should be 100% at first. And then all of a sudden we've got, some excess cash. Now I can take 5% of my energy and figure out where I want to invest it. But sometimes we get too overwhelmed with things, and then we start chopping into that 95%. And now all of a sudden we're only spending 50% on our business and 40% on our business.
Like if you get trading in Bitcoin, that 5% becomes 50%. Now your business is suffering because you're too caught up on trying to figure out if Bitcoin's going $1 million.
And now all of a sudden your 6 hours of focused energy in a day becomes 4 hours. Marcin, that's a brilliant point. And for those of you who stayed on to hear that is the key. That was eloquently and perfectly put. My brother, we'll do it again very soon. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being willing to share your time, your experience, your stories, the good, the bad, and keep up the great work. Happy holidays to you and your family, my friend. And hopefully you'll be willing to come back on here very soon and give us another update.
Sure. And again, to you guys, same. Happy holidays, everybody out there. And congrats, man. I can't wait to see the little guy. Hopefully, we got to put him on a live soon, man. Come on. I think everybody wants to see him.
I know. Yeah. He's going to be ready to rock the stage here within the next year. Give him a year, man. Give him a year to kind of, grow in. All right, brother. We'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Dave.
All right, my friends, rock it today. Get in, if you're new here, get into that challenge, go through it, finish it, get into our blueprints if you can. We are rocking things. We are moving hard into the fourth quarter here of 2020, and we are going to make the next year the absolute best year that any of us have ever had. That requires 100% of your attention and focus and commitment right now if you want to make that happen. So if you're going through our education and you have some action steps you need to take today, make those a priority. And then let's get into making things happen. Have a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow for Wake Up Legendary. Peace. Bye-bye.